I'm Gary Birtles, one of the old gits from a long time ago. You've got to tune into Tricky Talks, I believe, so just do it. All the best.
Robertson, the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do. And still Robertson, getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome along to the Tricky Talks podcast. Coming up, it was a fabulous 5 at the Stadium of Light as a tremendous performance by Forest saw them thrash Sunderland 5-0. We're here to relive the night and look forward to the Europa League Semi-Final first leg against Villa on Thursday. Chelsea is here as always. Hey up me duck, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. What an absolute win that was. I could not believe it. And as they say, miracles do happen, don't they?
They do, Kate. You were there. It wasn't so much of a miracle, though, was it?
No, but it was one of those things where at half-time we were all just looking at each other going, did that actually just happen? But no, it was amazing night.
Yeah, it was. And last but not least, Mollo is here as well. Did you enjoy your night at the Stadium of Light?
Oh, very much so. For once, we had amazing tickets, literally right behind the goal high, obviously, not stupid high. So it was just bliss.
It was great, actually. I mean, let's get straight into it then. I mean, so many talking points. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is he started with the team that you, Mollo, indicated he might have done on the last show, and spot on for doing that. But how does it mean, Mollo, we've found our identity now? You know, playing with two strikers effectively, high press, forcing mistakes. They were direct, ruthless and efficient. Is that our identity now for the rest of the season?
All right, I think people of our age are now watching a throwback, aren't they, to that fantastic side of the late 80s you've got, or even a reverse version of the 70s side. You've got one out-and-out winger, one wide midfielder who then tucks in and is a superb all-round player but has an eye for goal. Two up front, but one does the Nigel Clough role, dropping a bit deeper, quite, to pick the ball up. 4-4-2. That's what it basically is, isn't it? But with 4-4-2 with brains, it's nothing new, it's nothing revolutionary. It's quite literally the way Brian Clough played most of his managerial career, isn't it? And guess what? It works.
It does. I mean, they seem to have, as a result of this, they seem to have found that clinical edge all of a sudden, given that formation, Kate, haven't they? They've found a formula that works, and all of the goals that they scored were there was no chaos. It was organised, proper movement, proper goals. Yeah, there was an own goal, but the fact that Jesus was at the far post to get a position to score may have gone in anyway. That's the first time they've scored 4 goals in the Premier League away from home. Was it the perfect storm, do you think, Kate, or is this sustainable?
That's a tricky question, isn't it? The tricky talks. It felt like the perfect storm, when we were there. The first one, you were like, yeah, amazing, brilliant. Okay, defend, wait. Okay, no, don't defend. Okay. Well, I mean, they did defend, but then we were just going forward again, and the second one went in and you're up on your feet, and then the third one went in, and my brother was sat a little bit further up and to the right, and I ran up to my brother and celebrated the third one, and then by the time I'd run back down and just about got into my seat, then the fourth one went in, and it was just like, who is this team? This is absolutely incredible. And Sunderland, they just couldn't handle us. Mm-hmm. And I think that was how it felt in the stadium. It was how it felt when I watched it back. They couldn't work us out, and they couldn't handle us. And like you say, we were clinical. They were great goals. They were well-worked goals. They were good strikes. They were good heads. The Jesus one we didn't realise, because it was the other end to us, was an own goal for quite some time. But then when you watch it back, he kind of still makes it, doesn't he? It's not his goal, but he kind of makes it. It's almost like he sees it and heads it to go in off him. It feels brilliant with this semi-final around the corner to be to be playing and scoring that many goals. I mean, everybody's saying, 9 goals in the last 2 games. Who would ever have thought we'd have scored 9 goals in the remainder of the season, a few weeks ago? And yet this is where we are. We've asked the question several times on this podcast, what is going to be the effect of having Chris Wood back playing alongside Jesus? Well, if this is it, then we're in for a great last month, aren't we? Let's and I think, do you know what? I think that's okay. You kind of have your moment of celebration and then you become a bit tentative again and you become a bit, but what if and maybe and da-da-da, and Spurs won and West Ham won and all this. And I think, do you know what? It was amazing. We need to enjoy what happened on Friday. We need to celebrate the fact that we're scoring goals. We need to recognise that was not just 3 points. That was a massive boost for our goal difference, our momentum, our confidence. Because if we can't allow ourselves to enjoy things like that with the season that we've had so far, then I don't know why we do this.
Let's touch on the goals then briefly, Chelsea. And that I mentioned earlier that they were all great goals in their own right. You had a great header. You had a really good press for Wood's goal. You had a good cross for the first goal from a Hutchinson corner. You had a good, what looked like to be pre-rehearsed moves for 2 of the other goals from corners. So there was a lot of variety, and they displayed that killer instinct, didn't they, Chelsea, that we've been dreaming about all season.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. With, there was no fluky goals, was there? Everything was precise. Everything was planned out. And I'm still going to take it. I know the first goal was an own goal, but we scored from a set piece. I don't care that was an own goal. It was from a set piece. Can we just remember that and take that on board? And that was when that goal went in after I completely was running around the room, I said, we scored from a set piece. Yeah, take away that's an own goal. I don't care. It was still a set piece. But they were everyone knew their job. Everyone knew their role. Everyone knew where their man was, the crosses that were coming in, the volleys. Everything was precise, it was clinical, and it was supposed to be where it was. And that is what we hadn't seen from previous goals that we had scored in previous games. It almost seemed a bit fluky, right place, right time. Let's just keep shooting and just see what happens. But it was strategic, and it absolutely worked. And I feel like this is the game and this is the Forest that we've been waiting for and hoping for all season. And we all knew they had it in them. We knew the players are fantastic. They are absolutely talented, no end. And we knew they all had it in them. And these insanely gorgeous goals that happened, they just proved it to us in the Sunderland game. And God, did I bloody enjoy it.
Did you say you were running around the room as the goals went in? Because I'm picturing you running around the room like Chris Wood did for his goal, with the arms going.
I tell you, how much did he love that? How much did he love it? There was quite a few chances of Chrissy Wood go around in my house. I don't hope we didn't wake the neighbours up too much, but it was an incredible night, and it was very surreal, don't get me wrong, but God, to be a Forest fan that night.
Yeah, I've been watching the goals on repeat, because you have to, really. And
yep.
I do like Seb Hutchinson's commentary, because I think he's got a bit of a soft spot for Forest, and I know he goes on the Forest Focus podcast a lot to talk about Forest. I'm sure he's got a bit of a soft spot for Forest, but he gave it some real oomph, didn't he, in the commentary, and especially when Wood's goal went in to make it. Was that the second one? I can't even remember now. Yeah, it was. But I did enjoy that commentary, Molo, and it's some of that. It's one of those games where it's going to live long in the memory for a while.
Well, yeah, I watched it back, some yesterday, some today. I think what sticks out, there was 3 set-piece goals ultimately, but the pressure, and I know we'll pick out individuals later, but that left-back must be having absolute nightmares about Hutchinson, because he ripped him apart time after time after time. He tried fouling him, didn't work, give away free kicks, which we basically scored from. He managed to stop crosses for corners we scored from, or he just let him get a shot in and their keeper dug him out with a great save. Hutchinson showed us what we paid the money for sure. And not just him, but for me, watching it back, the momentum was we got at them non-stop. All the corners were desperate corners that they had saved the ball going, a good cross with men in the middle, or a free kick because they cropped someone because we were skinning them. It wasn't one of those where, we put the ball in behind and managed to nick a corner. It was literally one of those where if we hadn't got the corner, we probably would have had a chance in the middle. It was absolutely insane. But for a couple of better touches elsewhere, it could have scored more. But I mean, I'm not going to do the told you so thing, but I think a few weeks ago somebody said somebody's in for a tonking soon.
Yeah,
and
that was you, Molo.
Oh, was it? I knew someone said it. But I make that 13 goals in 4 league games, and to wipe away. We're not, of course, not out of it mathematically yet, and we'd be idiots to sort of settle down and say we're out of it now, especially after the results, which I couldn't have cared less in many ways. But it was the sheer. I mean, it was won by half time, and then second half, it was one of those days. I think you talk about the perfect storm in some ways. Nearly all of our players hit an 8 or 9 out of 10, didn't they, on the day? Morato came on, and you've got the usual people going, "Oh, here we go," and he was almost flawless, bar one pass, and his near post block towards the end was superb. Where normally Milenkovic would be. Everybody played a part. And the young left back came on, and after about probably 10 minutes of running around looking lost and out of the game, he then settled down and he showed what a footballer he could be. Made a couple of good tackles and obviously had a big part in the goal. And Tyro came on and turned into peak Kevin De Bruyne with his little turn and inside pass. So to some extent, you can't do this. It's like having a full cake in one go. You wish you could have half today, half in the next game. Let's hope we can continue it. But one thing's for sure, they're certainly full of confidence and we're playing some lovely football, even if the goals themselves partially came from set pieces. Because where I would equate it is if the last goal was a wonderful flowing move, if they'd have blocked it and got a corner, we'd have probably scored from it anyway, if that makes sense. So very happy with that. Very good.
Can I just say as well, with the fourth goal as well, and with the volley from Jesus, I love the fact we were so far forward that even Aina was having a go. We just kept closing them down continuously, and we just didn't give Sunderland any time to settle, and that's why we scored as many as we did, and long may it continue.
You talk, Molo, about having half your cake now and half the cake another time. Well, in fact, they did, really, because they had half against Burnley and half against Sunderland.
I would have liked to have saved a couple of those goals for Thursday night, ideally, but there we go. So some more to come.
Yeah.
BBC Ports put out a really interesting stat that when it was 4-0, they posted and said that Forest had scored 20% of their goals in the last 2 games, which just shows you the chalk and cheese between what was going on throughout the season up to this point and how they're playing now. But I did want to talk about that last goal, Kate, and it was quite fitting that it went to Elliot Anderson, the Geordie boy, to put the icing on the cake, wasn't it? And obviously he gave a tribute to his mum, which was nice to see, and there was some debate on Ben's show on the other night as to whether Tyro Wani meant that little pass to Anderson or not. And
he did.
Yeah.
I watched it back loads of time. He definitely did. That was the question I asked.
It was the best no-look pass I've seen ever, if he meant that, because he wasn't even watching, was he? But yeah, it was great way to finish off the game, wasn't it, to have Anderson score that goal right in front of the Forest fans.
It was. Both of them and Anderson, to score goals in that game was pretty special. But obviously Anderson, for the reasons we all know, and he did say, I think my mum would have really liked that one, and I am sure she did, because it was an absolute belter. And I think we were sort of all of the opinion that they didn't need to come quite so strong in the second half. We were 4-0 up. We were a little bit anxious not to concede, but in general, we thought, just hold now. And I did say, I think we're going to get a cheeky goal right at the end for 5. And then, and wasn't it just like you say, the no-look back? It was a proper cheeky goal, and I think he needed it. I think he really enjoyed it, and we certainly did. So yeah. Just kudos to all of them. And again, it was great to see Taiwo come on. As soon as you saw him step up off the bench and you knew he was coming on, the songs came out straight away, and it took an absolute age to get him on the pitch. And we just kept singing the Taiwo song until he came on. And it just goes to show you how much we love him. Sorry, I know the question was about Anderson.
Yeah, that's right.
But we love Taiwo. We're always happy to see him come on, and you don't have to be 4-0 up to be happy to see Taiwo Wanley come on.
You could tell there was an appetite for a 5th goal, because when in the build-up to that, Nets pulled the ball back across towards the edge of the area, and there was a collective groan from the Forest fans because it didn't go to a Forest player, and that was at 4-0, of course. So you could just tell from that moment there was an appetite for a fifth goal, and obviously they got it. But for me, I want to talk a bit about momentum, and you touched on it, Molo, a little bit. But it's happening at the right time, isn't it, in terms of the part of the season that matters the most? Now, is it, and I'll open it up to all of you to comment if you like, but is it a coincidence or is it coaching, or a little bit of both?
No.
Lots of factors, isn't there?
Because it's surprising how quickly they've gone from, when they played Wolves several weeks back and they couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo, to where in that little run they'd had like 100 efforts on goal with one to show for it. But now it's gone completely the other way, hasn't it? What's switched that momentum, do you think?
Just keep doing the right things and good habits, and everything else follows. Obviously, some of the coaching is apparently put confidence in some of them. But you just keep doing the right things, and the right things happen in the end in sport generally, but obviously in football. And hitting the target certainly helps. And Kate's already alluded to it. He may not be at full strength yet, but having Chris Wood on the pitch, definitely. I mean, it was very noticeable after his goal how his all-round play suddenly looked really good again. He's holding up, he's laying off all that. And we've got a lad who's just hit one of those veins of form where, you hear it's an old cliche where every time he goes on the pitch, he thinks he's going to score in Morgan Gibbs-White, and so do we, to be fair.
I mean, I don't think we could add anything to Morgan Gibbs-White that we didn't talk about last week, Chelsea. It was he was an important cog in that well-oiled machine on Friday night, but it was a collective performance, wasn't it? Like Molo said earlier, everybody played well and got at least 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I was saying you couldn't pick out a bad player. In some games that we've played, you can pick out the odd one where the weak link is there, and you can see, they're not going in for challenges or missed opportunities there, should have squared it across, and or not being able to defend well. But it was like a well-oiled machine. Everyone knew their role and everyone was doing it, and you couldn't pick out anybody who was lacking. They were all hungry, they all wanted it, and they were all performing outstandingly well. And I do think that Pereira has got a really big role in that. I think he's made them believe in themselves again after what happened. We all know that their confidence was so knocked after, with all the managers that that we've had, and there's been a lot of them, let's be honest. And he just seems to have knitted them together again, and they're playing as a team again, and their confidence is growing, and that's what you need. And it's been shown in the last, I'd say 5 games. It has even been building even since then. And you've got to, give kudos to Pereira for that. I know it's a collective effort, but he came in and things have changed for the better. And thank God that they have, because if we didn't have him when we did, we could have been in a lot different position than what we are now. I know we're not out of the woods, and I say that we will never be, clear until we're mathematically proven that we're staying. But God, we are in a better position than what we were.
Yeah, talking to Pereira, Kate, do you think his coaching has enabled the team to kind of start to show a level of maturity that perhaps they weren't able to show under previous managers? Because they showed the sort of ruthlessness against a weaker side, in inverted commas, that they haven't been able to do before. And they've done it over the last couple of games. Obviously, all due respect to Burnley, they are a weaker team and they're down as we know. Again, to Sunderland, perhaps overachieved this season, but they were a promoted team last year. You would expect, all things being equal, Forest would have a realistic chance of beating them, and obviously they did. But do you think Pereira has kind of overseen that squad so that they're at a level now where they've started to mature?
So first of all, I don't think anybody that was driving down the A19 on Friday was going there expecting us to win, and especially not to win 5-0. So I take your point on Burnley, and we talked about that at the time, how it's classic Forest to mess up those things. We were accused of overachieving last season, and I always think your league position reflects exactly where you should be. And I would say the same to Sunderland. And I have to also say that we came across a lot of Sunderland fans, both going into the stadium but also coming out. And they are a great and lovely bunch of people. And there was no nastiness, there was no anything. They were saying things along the lines of, we really hope you stay up. we don't feel that was a reflection of who we are tonight, but, you know, you were absolutely immense. It was all, you know, it was an absolute pleasure to go there and talk to those fans and watch that game. I think it's a mixture. I think you have to give Pereira credit because he has taken over. And now we are 7 games unbeaten. Yeah? Is that right?
Is it 7 or 8? I can't remember now.
7 games unbeaten. Yeah.
Including Cup, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that obviously has to come from his coaching. And Chelsea's touched on it in previous podcasts that he is, you know, a bit more of that coach that puts an arm around you, that spurs you on, that inspires you. We've spoken about the togetherness being back. And yet, I don't know if mature is the word that I would use, because they were unleashed on Friday. And that's how that felt. I think it comes off the back of not losing, you know, not going down the tunnel knowing that you've lost with your head a little bit low and, you know, the crowd chanting or whatever, you know, the negative stuff that was coming their way. I think that's definitely in there. But for me, the biggest thing has got to be the goals. That feeling of scoring a goal, that feeling of it hitting the back of the net and them all running around and them all celebrating and the crowd being behind them. Like you don't have to be a psychologist to know that makes you feel good and that gives you confidence. And that is how they played on Friday. They were absolutely unleashed and rampant, and it was amazing to see. And so, yes, credit to Pereira, credit to them as well for getting themselves together and showing us who they are.
The thing is as well, with Sunderland, they're a good side. I was looking at some of their stats, and I was looking at their home record.
Yeah.
They've won 8, drawn 5, lost 3. This was before Forest, and they scored 23 goals at home and let in 14. That's a good track record. I was going there really hoping to come away with a point.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
thinking, 1-1, take a point, brilliant. I mean, it's not like we were, celebrating that we just beat Wolves, So like how some teams
1-0 with an offside goal.
For the record, Forest are 6 unbeaten in the league, and on the assumption that both Porto games were within that 6-game period, they're on an 8-game unbeaten run right now, which I don't have the exact dates in front of me nor the exact list of last 6 games, but I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. But in the league, they're definitely unbeaten in the last 6. They've won 3, drawn 3. So that leads us to the big question then. And we've touched on it already. I know you're not convinced, Mono, but the big question is, and certainly this would have generated a different answer immediately after the game on Friday night than it did on Saturday, I suspect, but how safe are we? I know we're not stupid enough to count our chickens before they're hatched. We're not, as a podcast group, I think we're quite sensible and we're not like that. But did you feel like we were safe immediately after the game, and did your reaction change? Did your reaction change when Spurs and West Ham won at the weekend, Molly?
A little bit. Only thinking, I was trying to figure out which game we'll be safe at. And I thought, going away to Old Trafford to be safe would be quite fun. But I was thinking Chelsea away getting safe might have been quite interesting as well. But I did think we were safe because 8 points they got 4 games if they'd have lost or drawn with Wolves. But I did always think they'd beat Wolves. But I actually sat and watched most of it. And what I will say, because I said they looked a much different side against Brighton last week, they were crap against Wolves. Wolves didn't win a tackle in the first half hour, and Tottenham still couldn't score. And, fair enough, they got the job done, and it could be the cork that unpops the bottle, because theoretically they've got all these good players. But they were very, very poor. They're not going to look at that. It's all about the points, of course, but they're not going to look at that performance and think, that gives us the confidence to go win away at Villa and win away or against Chelsea, who is their kryptonite. So I would never say we're safe, because we've seen it not just with Forest, but too many times over I'll just say Stoke and playoffs, but we've seen it too many times over the years where we find a way to mess it up. And I'm not saying I think we'll do that. What I will say is the other 2 below us would do anything to be in our position right now instead of theirs. And the form we're currently in. As we know, that can easily go the other way, but they're playing with such freedom and confidence, I just don't feel like we're not going to pick up any more points, are we? I'm not suggesting we're going to win every game the way some pundits suggest Spurs are. I'm not going to suggest we're going to go unbeaten the rest of the season necessarily. I hope we do, but we'll see. I'm never overconfident, but we're in a reasonably good place considering where we were at the end of Ange Postecoglou's reign, where we looked gone to a point, didn't we, in terms of confidence all over the pitch. Couldn't score goals, couldn't stop conceding them, couldn't defend set pieces, couldn't put any decent ones in there. There was no real fight except from Anderson and obviously the usual back four when they were fit. So from where we were to where we are is chalk and cheese. So I'm not going to say yes for definite, but I'm quietly optimistic that we're nearly there. I think we'll get there soon.
Yeah, I'll ask you the same question, Kate. But before I do that, I don't know whether you remember a comment I made on Ben's show at the weekend where I said we're now in a position to start. Obviously, we've got to be aware of Spurs and West Ham behind, but we're also now in a position where we can start to look up a little bit because we're only a point behind Leeds. We're only 3 behind Newcastle with them to play coming up as well. So given the way they are playing, I think they've got to start looking up as well.
Not yet.
But having said that, though, they still do need to perform, and we'll know a lot more when Forest take the field against Chelsea because Spurs will have played Villa the day before and West Ham would have played, I can't remember who they're playing at the weekend, let me just check. They're playing Brentford away. So we'll know come Monday's kick-off at Chelsea where we stand, won't we?
Well, indeed. You know, the biggest crime in football is complacency. And like I said, we enjoy every minute, every goal of those last 2 games. And then we reset and we go again. Momentum, confidence, those things are so important, but the moment that you get complacent is the moment it comes to bite you on the arse. So we are absolutely not safe because I can count on my fingers how many points they are behind us. Okay, so no, we're not safe, but what we are right now is in pole position. Like Mollo said, they want to be where we are. We are, in good form, scoring goals and 2 places above relegation, looking up to Leeds, looking up to Newcastle, who have also got some tricky fixtures coming up. So we're in, I think, the best position we could possibly be in right now, coming from where we have done, but it has to keep going. And it isn't all going to be high-scoring games. We have to accept that. We enjoy what we've had, but equally we are grateful for a 0-0 draw, a 1-1 draw, a ground-out 2-1. We are Forest fans. We've seen it all. We've done it all. We've been there before. We know how this works. So we enjoy the highs and then we dig in and we go again. What I would say is that it does give us the opportunity to really go for it on Thursday, which I'd like to think he would have done anyway, but his previous press conferences would suggest that maybe he isn't in that frame of mind. But what that does do is it gives you no excuses not to go for it on Thursday.
Same question to you then, Chelsea. Now, whilst mathematically we can't clinch safety against Chelsea, whatever happens in any of the games, and an Aston Villa victory against Spurs coupled with a Forest win at Chelsea would leave them 8 points clear of Spurs with only a possible 9 to play for Spurs. So it is a crucial weekend, and I know you're probably the most worried out of all of us, I would imagine. But where do you stand now after the weekend's results?
Yeah, obviously after that game, of course you're like, oh yeah, we're absolutely fine, well, because you're just on such a high. And then you see the Spurs game come in, the West Ham game, and you go, oh, okay, right, so we're back in the same position then. That's how it feels, because obviously you're just being matched the whole time, and you kind of want that gap to just increase between us, but you feel like you're just kind of going at the same. But obviously goal difference can play a very huge part when it comes down to the last game of the season, so obviously we're doing very well in that aspect. We are not safe. We are safer than what we were, which is obviously fantastic. A couple of months ago, we would have absolutely loved to be in the position of where we are now, the one we were. So we've got to remember that and we've got to be positive about that. But yeah, I am the most worried out of all 4 of us, yes. And everyone can probably tell over the few podcasts. But the position that we're in is a lot better. and I'm not overly happy, but I'm happier than what we were. So as long as we just keep consistent, and like Kate said, we're not going to be picking up 3 points continuously, but the odd draw here, the 0-0 game, the 1-1 here and there. Also as well, just keeping an eye on Spurs, keeping an eye on West Ham. As long as we match them or do greater than, then we will be okay.
You've said something there that I've got to pull out. We're in the same position as we were before the weekend, points-wise, but what we are is another game ticked off, another
Very
game
true.
less for them to catch us. And, last week, when Leeds won and they went on to 39 points after their 2 wins, everybody in the media, everyone everywhere was saying they're safe. Well,
Yeah.
we're on 39 points and we're worried. So, well, we're not worried, but we're cautiously optimistic,
Yeah.
I'd say, is how I'd describe myself.
And
'Cause
nobody in the media has said that about us. I was waiting for that.
I've
Oh,
seen
yeah,
it a
come on
bit.
then.
I've seen it a bit. To be fair, Spurs and West Ham fans seem to be saying it.
So
Well, yeah.
if it gives you any comfort, the Opta stats are suggesting Forest have a 1 point something % chance of being relegated, if their probabilities are anything to go by.
At
So
this stage of the season, they are.
yeah, I'm feeling they're a little generous on those odds right now. Give us that with 2 games to go, and I'll be a bit more convinced. You know what? It would take an extraordinary turnaround in fortunes for either West Ham or Spurs or both to overtake Forest, given the way the 2 teams are playing.
I can't see Spurs catching us.
No, I can't.
West
And
Ham are in form, aren't they, now?
Yeah, and Xavier Simons has been ruled out for the rest of the season and the World Cup with an unfortunate knee injury, so they're going to miss one of their better players now. So be interested to see what kind of team Villa decide to put out on Sunday as well. If they go full strength like they normally do, then you'd like to think, all things being equal, Villa would beat Spurs in that game. But, they may decide to rest players depending on how that first leg goes, which we'll talk about shortly. But we have got a few minutes spare, I think, to talk about what are our best away performances ever. And I know I asked you to do some research beforehand, if you managed to do it, around, what was your top 3 away games ever in the top division. So that's not just Premier League, but all-time top division. And I've got my thoughts, but we'll start with you, Molo. I know you've done some research.
Well, I had
Very quickly
2
share
lists.
your top 3.
I went for context rather than just ones I definitely went to. So 4-0 at Old Trafford in the Championship season, 7-1 at Sheffield Wednesday in our finishing 3rd season, and 6-2 away at Chelsea, just because it was a great day, if it was a bit scary, with Neil Webb and Gary Birtles. All of those, and, hard to argue because of the context around them.
Yeah, I had 2 of those 3 in my list. I had, in 3rd place was the 7-0 Brighton home game, because it's never easy to score
That's not an away
7.
game.
Oh, did I say away? I meant all-time top division. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I know. That's never easy to score 7 in the top league. My second one was the 4-0 away at Old Trafford, one in 1970, I think it was, wasn't it? No, 77,
78.
beg your pardon.
77,
Was it
77.
Yeah. Chelsea, ask your dad about that one. He'll remember that one.
I'll ask him.
She's going to
Yeah.
go.
And the
Was
top
he
one
that
was the Sheffield Wednesday 7-1 away.
I would have added in the 7-0 Chelsea if I was allowed home games.
Yeah, that one. Was that 1990?
Just before the cup final.
Just before the cup final,
Because
91. Yeah.
Stuart Pearce scored 2 and assisted 2, kept a clean sheet on the day that Tony Dorigo was supposed to show that he was a better left back for England, and went off after about 2 minutes.
Right, Chelsea, did you come up with the top 3?
Well, obviously, I'm a bit more of a spring chicken than everybody else. So I was focusing more on Premier League this season, the last couple of seasons. That's where I was focusing on. I was just having a little quick think. When we beat Liverpool at Anfield 1-0, Hudson-Odoi's curling to the bottom right. We were never ever supposed to win that game, and we bloomin' did. And everyone then actually saw us for who we really are and what we can play like. And I will never ever forget that day.
Me neither.
Yeah. I loved it when we went to St James's Park as well, and Chris Wood scored that hat-trick. It was just, Langer running down, squaring in Wood, Langer running down, squaring in Wood all the time. And I would like to ask something, actually. Would you have a Langer back?
All day long.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, just see what that thought. I wanted to put it out there.
I mean, I know he's not had the best season at Newcastle, but what he did for Forest, he was an absolute asset, wasn't he? And it's a It's a question, and I'd be very surprised if anybody said no.
Yeah, it's just in the wrong team.
Yeah. Kate, was that your list, Chelsea?
Yeah, I got to 2 and then I ran out of time. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Did you manage to think of anything, Kate? I know you've been pretty busy today with other commitments, so not a problem if you haven't. But just curious to know your thoughts.
So I remember the 7-1. I think I was about 15. I wasn't there, but I remember watching it. And yeah, that you're never going to forget that, are you? No matter how old you are, if you saw it. I mean, for me, some more recent ones, the Leicester win was both the Liverpool wins, although for me, the one this season was incredible, being there with the boys. So I do definitely need more time to think about this, because you're asking me to rank them, and I take this kind of thing very seriously.
And it's hard, isn't it? Because it's best away, not favourite away.
Yeah.
Different things come into it, like you say, with the boys and whatnot. So yeah, I agree with that. And that Sheffield Wednesday one, I've always respected Sheffield Wednesday fans after that, because they were actually clapping our goals, because they were that good, our goals, and they didn't. Yeah. They were actually applauding, weren't they? You can see it on the footage.
You can, yeah. Well, there's a good off-season pod for us to talk about, isn't it? All rank our top games ever. But let's draw a close to Sunderland then with Molo's moment, followed by the man of the match votes. We'll start with you, Molo.
It's got to be, even though it wasn't crucial, the 5th goal, the fact that Ando scored it there, build up to it. They're all great goals in their own right, but the build up and the fact it was Anderson in front of the Forest fans. No disrespect. Got no issue with Sunderland fans at all, I know, but for him as a Geordie scoring against their rivals, and the class of it, and it was just the explosion in the away, because we've mostly been defending second half, haven't we, doing the job, and to come away like that and score, just brilliant. And it just topped off by far the best away performance of the season, in the context as well, because we didn't know at the time when we beat Liverpool they were crap, but that was my moment. Ando.
Yeah, nice one. Who's your man of the match?
I've been agonising over this, so I'm gonna pick my one, and I'm gonna justify it so I don't offend anyone. Gibbs White was superb for the full game. I've watched it back, and he was so influential, and his ability to maintain that the structure, what's the word I'm looking for, the right shape when we haven't got the ball, and then come inside and find gaps and be like what was it he said, left 10, is something that's, if Tuchel hasn't seen it, Tuchel's got no footballing brain, which I'm sure he has. But I've got to go for Hutchinson. He was absolutely electric. His first half performance was reminiscent of peak Franz Carr on one of his good days with the end product. That left back he's going to be thinking, who the hell was that guy? And I'm not suggesting he'll be able to play that level every week, but he set a precedent to have just how talented and how good he is. People have been getting on his case a bit, and I understand why, but he still is only a young lad, and he can buzz off that confidence he's got from that, because that was incredible. That was proper old school wing play, wasn't it?
It was. And Hutchinson, of course, could be making a swift return to his old team, Ipswich Town, Chelsea, because at the time of recording it looks like they're going to get promoted again, doesn't it? They only need I think 3 points would do it on goal difference, and 4 would make mathematically certain. So, and if Forest stay up, of course, he'll be making a return to his old grounds. But who got your man of the match?
I agree with Molo. When you watch his Hutchinson's performance, it was brilliant. Like, again, Gibbs White, Jesus, you couldn't fault anyone on that pitch. There was no bad player. They all deserve their credit. But it was almost like Hutchinson down that right-hand side was just keeping the defenders occupied, keeping them busy, which then allowed Gibbs White more on the left to be able to drift into the middle and do his stuff and back and forth. He was just class. He really was. And again, there was, if I could give it all to him, then I would. But I'm going with Molo, see? And we haven't been talking, me and Molo, before this. This is not a strategic thing.
Well, I hope Dean was impressed by his performance on Friday night as well.
Yeah,
40 million bargain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plays like that much, he certainly will be.
Right, that's 2 for Hutchinson. Which direction are you going to go in, Kate? Who's your man of the match?
Well, a couple of ifs first. So if Ipswich get promoted and if Forest stay in the Premier League, we'll have to do a live from Ipswich Tricky Talks next season.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to all get down there early, get ourselves organised and do a live from Ipswich. I would really, really like that. And I'm going to say Jesus for my man of the match. I just had to give it to him because I feel that game completed his game as a player, as the player we've wanted it to be. as the player we've known he can be. He was back on form in terms of all the off-the-ball stuff, all the hold-up play. He was creative, and he scored his Premier League goals and 2 games on the bounce. And I just, for me, that's who I came out of that phenomenal game.
2 assists. I know only 1 counts, but 2 assists.
Yeah.
As well.
For me, I came out of that game, and he was the one that I thought he's got to have my man of match for this week. And I'm not taking anything away from Hutchinson or any of the others who were brilliant. Morgan, Hutchinson. There were some fantastic performances, but for me, Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you, Kate. I mean, I'm going to select him as well because I thought it was almost like he'd been unlocked. You mentioned the word unleashed earlier, and Jesus seemed to have had himself unlocked, if you like, which has coincided with Chris Wood coming into the team. So maybe that's a great combination that they've stumbled upon now, and the only way is up now for Jesus, isn't it? And the other reason for giving him man of the match was the fact that he gave that post-match interview, didn't he, where he talked into the phone and went, "Hey up me duck" in a Nottingham accent, spoken by a Brazilian, which was tremendous. So interesting to know if he actually knows what he was told to say that, or whether he wanted to say it off his own back. But it was a great moment. Yeah, it was a great moment, wasn't it? And yeah, he
Game
played
of
exceptionally
opinions,
well.
but I'm not having that. Nobody was better than Hutchinson when he was on the pitch.
Right, so that brings Sunderland to a close. Before we move to Villa, we'll do a start on a quiz, Kate, if you have one, followed by Chelsea and the FPL update, and then, like I said, we'll talk briefly about Villa on Thursday.
Okay, sure. Right, so your quiz question this week is name the last 5 semi-finals that Forest have featured in.
Does that include playoffs?
Yes, it does. Because that was a semi-final. So,
yeah.
all competitions, the last 5 semi-finals we've been in, please.
Okay, including current semi-final as well?
Nope, because we haven't picked that yet.
Oh, damn it, that was my answer.
Okay. Yeah. Right, thanks for that one, Kate. That's an interesting one. Chelsea, FPL update for the listeners and the viewers?
Yes. Yeah,
Definitely
I
not.
wish we
Stupidity
could
award
do
this
one,
week.
because me and you are in the exact same boat. I'll start with Simon. I'll get his out of the way first. He's
why not?
Still in 4th with 45 points. Use your free hit, Simon, and rightly so, because like any good, FPL manager, they would save their free hit or their wild card for, the blank game week that has been happening. Most people who are good enough would do that. I did not. So you've still got 45 points this week so far, Simon. You've still got 2 players to play. Mollo, you've gone up to 11th.
There's obviously lots of people as stupid as me.
Me being one of them.
I hope anyone's not stupid enough to write you off, Mollo.
Oh, don't. Can I just point out, because out of my squad of, is it 14 you're allowed, is it 15? 6 of my players were not playing in this game week, and I left them in there. I didn't click. I knew I'd missed a couple because of Chelsea, but I completely forgot about the other FA Cup semi-final opponents to the teams that were playing. All my Arsenal players were okay, but anyway, I don't know how I got that many points. Thank you, Morgan.
I was going to say, because you scored 46 and you were playing your bench boost as well, and you've still got 1 player to play, but you've gone up to 11th, Mollo.
How?
11th. And me, I've gone down to 19th. I messed up big time. Last game week, I was so smug. I transferred in players with a double game week as me thinking I was going to get all these points, and then I had 7 players out this week and I had absolutely none of my chips left. So thank God for Anderson and thank God for Gibbs White, because they were the ones that scored me the most points. And Kate, you are actually up to 27th now. You played your wild card, you got 51 points. So you're doing,
and I got 2 still to play tonight.
Yes, you have. Yes, me too. Actually, I think. Yes, I think that's 2 that I've got. And also as well, we have a new person at the top of our Tricky Talks pod leaderboard. It is Gareth Parry with Chris Wood Ole. So he is now beaten my cousin, which I'm quite happy about.
Great name.
So, so he is at the top. I do just want to see how many points he has got. Where are we?
I think he's got quite a good lead, hasn't he, Chelsea, if I remember rightly?
Yeah, where is it? So my cousin Jack Harrell is on overall 2,057. And he's on and Gareth is on 2,058. So there is a point in it each, so it'll be a race to the top. And I would just like to say the top goal scorer for this game week is Igor Jesus with 14 points, and closely followed by Gibbs White with 13 points. So 2 Forest players at the top of the player stats leaderboard. And remember, people, there is only 4 games left. So any chips left, make sure you play them.
Interestingly, Gareth has got Fernandes as his captain, but Jack has got Mo Salah. So if Fernandes has a good game tonight, Gareth's going to extend his lead at the top.
I don't know why Jack put Mo Salah as his captain.
I've got Fernandes as captain, I think.
Yep, so have I. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got him as captain.
And
as well.
I could kick myself because I got great value out of the Forest players because I had Gibbs White and Anderson and Nico. And now I just wish I'd captained Gibbs White.
Yeah, me too. I had Anderson as captain, weirdly. I don't know how I done it because I didn't mean to, but it worked out.
Oh, nice.
Okay, in the end. I mean, I meant to do that on purpose. But yes, that is the FPL update. Or does anyone want to add anything?
No, all good, Chelsea. Thanks for that.
Next season, I get it now.
Yeah, next season I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be above Simon, and I'm going to be at the top of our Tricky Talks pod.
Replace injured players and don't have FA Cup semi-finalists or people who've got a week off because of it.
And make sure you log in, Mollo. That's always a good start.
And that.
Right, let's look forward to a semi-final then. Kate's mentioned a semi-final in the quiz. We have another one to look forward to on Sunday. We don't need to get... Thursday, beg your pardon. Yeah, we don't need to go too much into the ins and outs or the X's and the O's in terms of what Forest need to do, because we all know that by now. What would mean a good result for you, Mollo? Do you feel as though we need to go into the second leg with a lead, or given our away performances, especially Sunderland, would you be happy with a draw, or what do you think would be a good result?
I think staying in the tie, because anything can happen. I think let's not lose sight of the fact Villa have dominated us twice already this season, haven't they, really, if we're being brutally honest. They've got, I think, one of the best midfields in the country when they're nearly all fit. Put all that together and I'll take a draw at home and then see what happens away. That said, wouldn't it be lovely if we get another 4 goals so we can relax for the next one? For the next, I think it might be my 12th semi-final or something. Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would want them to relax, Mollo, for the second leg. I would want them to be on... Yeah, well, even then, you just never know, do you? It would be typical Forest.
I mean, we could relax a little bit and stop booking whatever we need to book.
Don't know what you mean, Mollo. Don't know what you mean. But Kate, what would you think is a good result?
I have to agree with Mollo. I do. I think as long as we're still in it, I'd be quite happy with a draw. If we were 1 down, I don't think you should be counting us out. I'd love a lead, although Forest do tend to spurn leads that they get in first legs, don't they? That again, in some respects, I'd be more worried if we were 1-0 up than I would if we were 1-0 down, just from historical PTSD. But I've said this a lot, what I want to see is a performance. The thing that is worrying me, and I was a lot more confident than I am now, is the Murillo-Cunha situation that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
And I hear what you say about Morato, Mollo, and I've heard one other person in the world say nice things about Morato.
No, I can't deny he's had 2 good performances on the trot. If you ask me if I think he'll have a third one on the trot if he plays the whole game, that's a totally different question.
Yeah, and I just, for me, it's when he makes the mistakes, they tend to be these big, game-changing, catastrophic errors. And when you know that he's got that in him, you're just almost waiting for it. And a semi-final against Villa would just seem like the perfect stage for him to absolutely... Yeah, so that is my concern going into this. All the other things, I think we go into it in a much, much better place, in the best place we've been all season. I do have confidence that it's possible. It's, like we said about Sunderland, it's really, really tough. But we could do it, and look what happened. So I want to see them perform. I want to see them go strong. And I want to come out of the City ground on Thursday evening feeling pride in my team and like we gave that a damn good go. And there are margins for scorelines where I could come out with that feeling, and I've mentioned them all. If we get an absolute tonking, then no, obviously not. But I don't think we will. I would happily take a 1 deficit, an all square, or anything in terms of a lead.
Yeah. Has anyone heard how Jed Cunha is after his injury? Because it took a hell of a whack to his shoulder against Sunderland, but I've not read anything in the press or seen anything on the news around how he
seen
is.
anything. I've tried to look for it, but I can't find anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard a rumour that Murillo's in Qatar. It's a rumour, it's unconfirmed. It's not a particularly reliable source, but I did hear that today.
He's about the only guy who can get a flight out there then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which, you know, if there is any truth to that, it would look unlikely that he's flying back ready for Thursday. But like I say, unconfirmed, just rumours.
Well, given the state of the Middle East at the moment, I would have been surprised if the club would have authorised that trip, to be honest with you. But, you know, well, who really knows?
That's classic
We'll see.
local rumours, you know. I'll tell
Do you reckon? I know, and when I read it, I was like, it can't be. And this person was adamant. But yeah, like I say, totally unconfirmed. Let's hope he's...
I only go from the ones from the horse's mouth. I speak to somebody from the club or whatever. But yeah, that one's... I doubt that somehow. I've heard he gave an interview saying about Jacques Cunha's shoulder, and I'm not a doctor, but it looks a bit bruised. So then we're hopeful, is what he said, but I wonder if that's just a smokescreen.
Yeah, Chelsea, I'm going to ask you a question about Thursday, and I know I asked Mollo and Kate around what would be a good result, but sorry to do this to you, but I'm going to ask you what would be a bad result. I'm sorry, Chelsea, but you have to get two sides to every argument.
Yeah, all right, give that one to me. All right, I'll take it. A bad result. To me, a bad result would be a bad performance. That's how I view it. I wouldn't like to go into the second leg like 1-0 down, 2-0 down. I wouldn't do that because I know how much harder it is to, you know, kind of bring yourself back, especially when your confidence is a bit lower. I definitely would want to take at least a 0-0. I think going in there, you're almost like clean slate in the second leg. Just go out and just run your backsides off and just show us what you're made of, and like Kate said, just be unleashed. A bad result for me would be a bad performance. If we performed well and we lost, you go, yeah, right, okay, it's Villa, yeah, semi-final in Europa, but bloody hell did they give it all that they got. They were running, they were just doing everything that Forest could do and performed well. So to me, a bad result would be a bad performance. Ideally, I wouldn't like to see us, you know, in like, you know, 1-0, 2-0 down. I'd like to see us go even into the second leg, get a draw, go into the second leg, even if it was 0-0, but with a bloody good performance. And then in that second leg, you just get out on that pitch and just show us what you're made of and just play your hearts out. Sorry,
We'll
Mike.
see. Go
Penalties.
on, Mollo. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, imagine.
God. Well, that would be... Who?
Stop it.
We'll see. Right, we're coming to the end of the show now, and talking of semi-finals, you had a great question earlier, Kate. Let's remind everybody what the question was. I think I've had a pretty good shot at it.
Okay, good.
We'll see.
So the last 5 semi-finals that Forest were in.
I'm
wrote down
going
the
to
last
leave this to
14.
you two.
Come on,
The floor is
Chelsea. You
yours.
should be able to
Why
get...
would Chelsea just go first? Because the hardest
no.
one for me was the more recent ones, making sure they're in the right order.
No,
Which
I'm
I am
leaving
slightly
this to you
concerned
two.
about, I have to
Because
say.
I'm going to embarrass myself. So you two go for it. The floor is yours.
I got as far as 1959, and I was trying to remember who we played in the 59 semi-final, but I wasn't actually alive, I hasten to add.
Right, shall I go first then?
Go on.
Shall I
Go,
first?
Simon.
Right, in the 1 minute I had to think of these 5, I went in order: Blackpool, Swansea, Sheffield United, Man City. 3 of those in the league playoffs, and obviously a League Cup semi-final, followed by an FA Cup semi-final.
Sorry, you're going to have to do that slower.
Blackpool, Swansea, Sheffield United, Man City.
You went Swansea.
Yeah, in that order. And prior to Blackpool, there was Yeovil, but you didn't ask to go back that far.
Prior to that, Sheffield United, and prior to that, Spurs, and prior to that, sorry.
Yeah, gone, Mollo. What did you have?
Same. It's Blackpool, Swansea, Sheffield United, Man U, and FA Cup, so Man City. I couldn't read my writing there.
Very good. Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Off air, we'll do the 5 before that, Simon. See how crazy.
Yeah. I've got time. I've got to go.
Yeah, and there's a couple of others which aren't part of the 5 to mention. So you had the semi-final against Tottenham, which was the Rumbelows at the time. That one was back in '92. And then interestingly, the one against West Ham, the FA Cup semi-final that took us to the final, was played at Villa Park, which is just, not part of the answer, but just little fun facts that I picked up. And we won that.
Remember it well.
Yeah. So yeah, well done. Yeah, it's not easy.
I do like a good semi-final stat, because I think I mentioned it certainly within our group, maybe on the show a couple of weeks ago. Apart from the playoff final against Sheffield United, all of the finals that Forest have got to, they have been when the second leg has been away from home. So I know we lost in the League Cup semi-final to Man United a couple of seasons ago, but we didn't make the final, obviously.
No.
So all of the finals that we have made, the semi-final second leg was away from home. So hopefully history will repeat itself this time around as well. Right, we'll come to the end of the show.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll come to the end of the show, bang on the hour pretty much. Any final thoughts, Chelsea?
We just always need another win. Always need another win. And yeah, I just hope that we're all positive and happy at the end of the season. Just get behind them and let's just keep the momentum up.
Yeah, anything from you, Mollo?
No, just I saw the incredible stat that in March and April, Vitor's record in the Premier League is a 62% win percentage. So get to the summer and then obviously sack him, because after that it's 12%. Joke, by the way.
And last but not least, Kate, anything you want to bring up before we go?
I want to give a shout out to Gary Marriott, who secured my ticket for the away leg at Villa this morning, which was no mean feat. I don't know if you've seen how fast it sold out. And so, yeah, big shout out to him for being the ticket ninja. I cannot wait.
Excellent. So we'll be back possibly Friday to do a review of the Villa game, I guess, given the fact that it shouldn't take you too long to travel back from Birmingham unless you're going via planes, trains and automobiles. So hopefully we'll do that, and we'll look forward to the Bank Holiday Monday fixture against Chelsea as well. So as always, thank you everybody for listening or for watching, and we will talk to you again real soon.